Welcome to the daily live stream. Do me a favor and hit that like button as you come in. Say where you're watching from. Say what's up in the chat to get a shout out. And same thing I say every night: trolls troll at your own risk. At your own risk. Because only one of three things is gonna happen. I mean, I'm definitely gonna come for you at some point. But one of my mods will. You're gonna get timed out, or you're gonna get kicked out of the chat. That's just the way the rules work over here. I don't block you guys from saying anything. One of my mods might. Usually, if YouTube hides it, I'll show it. You can talk your talk. Just be respectful. Be cordial. Keep it short, because if you don't keep it short, Streamlabs is gonna just delete it. So yeah, with that being said, make sure you hit that like button, because it does a ton for the video, for the algorithm, for the channel. I appreciate you guys for doing that and stopping by. So as per usual, we're on day 38 of the disgusting shutdown. We're going to go the bipartisan route as always. We're going to hear from some Republicans, then some Democrats. Then we're going to jump into some news, and we're going to end the live stream with a Christian clip. So first up on the menu, we actually going to hear from... Let's hear from Senator Chuck Schumer first. We got Senate Democrats offer to end shutdown in exchange for one. So let's see what they're talking about. CBS News and Face the Nation covered this. This was just a couple hours ago, about 5 hours ago. We'll listen to Chuck Schumer talk about that first. Then we'll jump over to MSNBC. Not my favorite platform, but they have a Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. They covered that he's less optimistic about ending the shutdown soon. So whatever, I'm guessing whatever Chuck Schumer is proposing, that the Republicans aren't buying it, but we'll take a look at that. Then we're also going to hear something from Hakeem Jeffries. Shout out to Hakeem Jeffries. That's on his channel. We'll be watching that. Then we'll jump over to Fox News. Senator Thune issues a bold warning to Democrats on shutdown that it will cost them. So we'll jump into some of that by Senator Thune. And then after that, we have President Trump talking about Democrats pitch a new plan to reopen the government. After they pitch that plan, we're going to look at J.D. Vance calling a judge's SNAP benefit order absurd. So the judge actually ruled that President Trump had to fully fund SNAP, not partially fund it. So we're going to see what comes out of that. J.D. Vance obviously isn't happy about that. We'll jump over to CNN. Harry Entienne sees major warning sign of Republicans in election. And then we'll end the live stream with a Christian clip. Shout out to Truth Be Told. He's up on the menu tonight, Truth Be Told. I watch him often, but I haven't brought him to the channel yet, so you guys will get a chance to watch him with me tonight. So let's take a look at what Mr. Chucky has to say. Senator Democrats offer to end shutdown in exchange. Let's take a listen.
While starting my first of 5 successful businesses, I foolishly did my own accounting. I stuck the more difficult tax forms in a drawer for later.
After so many failed votes, it's clear we need to try something different. What the Senate is doing isn't working for either party and isn't working for the American people. Democrats have said we must address the health care crisis, but Republicans have repeatedly said they won't negotiate to lower the health care costs until the government reopens. So let's find a path to honor both positions. Democrats would like to see an end to this shutdown, and we want to respect Leader Thune's desire not to negotiate on ACA until after the government reopens. Therefore, we'd like to offer a simple proposal that would reopen the government and extend the ACA premium tax credits simultaneously, and then have the opportunity to start negotiating longer-term solutions to health care costs. Let's do all three. I've spoken with my caucus, and Democrats are offering a very simple compromise. Democrats are ready to clear the way to quickly pass a government funding bill that includes health care affordability. Leader Thune just needs to add a clean 1-year extension of the ACA tax credits to the CR so that we can immediately address rising health care costs. That's not a negotiation. It's an extension of current law, something we do all the time around here, as we all know. But we also offer this. Let's create a bipartisan committee that will continue negotiations after the government reopens on reforms, ahead of next year's enrollment period, to provide long-term certainty that health care costs will be more affordable. This proposal reopens the government and ensures working families who are shopping right now for their health care get certainty and financial relief. While open enrollment has begun, insurers can update their rates after we pass a simple extension of the tax credits. With this approach, we do not negotiate health care in the shutdown, as Leader Thune has maintained he wishes, and the American people get the tax credit extension they want. That is what many of our Republican colleagues have floated over the last 6 weeks as a compromise: a one-year tax credit extension and reforms to the credit beyond that. We will agree with the Republican request not to start negotiations until after the government reopens. All Republicans have to do is say yes to extend current law for 1 year. It makes sense. And since what we're proposing is only a simple extension of current law, the Senate could do this within a few hours. This is a reasonable offer that reopens the government, deals with health care affordability, and begins a process of negotiating reforms to the ACA tax credits for the future. Now, the ball is in the Republicans' court. We need Republicans to just say yes. I yield to Senator Peters.
Thank you, Leader Schumer.
Senator from Michigan.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, Republicans have repeatedly said that they will not negotiate reforms to the health care law credits until the government reopens. I will tell you right now that all my colleagues on this side of the aisle definitely want to open government, and we want to do it as soon as possible. We are also willing to respect Leader Thune's desire to negotiate after the shutdown. So Democrats are offering today a very simple, straightforward compromise. And if Republicans accept this, we could open the government today. Would that be fabulous? Show that we can come together with a common sense, bipartisan compromise and open government. All we have to do is have a 1-year extension of a clean bill that's law now, it's expired. It's just an extension of an existing law dealing with tax credits. And over the next year, we can figure out a long-term solution to the healthcare challenge that we're facing as a country. This proposal opens the government and ensures that families who are shopping right now for their health care can get immediate financial relief at a time when costs are driving families to make incredibly difficult financial decisions. And we believe that while we're trying to figure out a long-term solution to the healthcare crisis, people should not be penalized. People should not be suffering. Give the relief that they need now, and over the next year, we'll work together to find a more comprehensive solution. We know that right now our nation is experiencing a healthcare crisis where costs are skyrocketing and too many Americans are risking losing their coverage. Too many Americans are struggling to choose between food or gas or healthcare. And it's not just Americans in blue states, let's be clear. Families in every state across the country are paying these prices. Every one of us have families that are experiencing this now in our states. Well, we can take action today to give our constituents some immediate financial relief and prevent them from being priced out of the insurance market. We all want to end the shutdown. We want to ensure that government services can continue, and we want to ensure our hardworking federal employees get the pay that they have earned. The Democrats have made clear since day one that in order to get the votes that Republicans need, we must address the healthcare crisis. Because the American people have made it clear they want Congress to take action on this issue, it's literally life or death for far too many American families. I know many of my Republican colleagues want to work on this issue too. I've had conversations with so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who want to try to figure out how we fix this. But they've said repeatedly we won't negotiate until government reopens. Leader Thune has said, quote, "Give us the votes to open up the government. Then we will have a conversation about some of these issues that you want to discuss." And I think healthcare is certainly something we are anxious to all talk about, end of quote. And perhaps most importantly, even President Trump has said he'd be happy to work with Democrats on healthcare policies, but only once the government is reopened. Well, I agree with my Republican colleagues. It's not realistic to reform a major healthcare policy in just a few days. It's not going to happen. And I respect Leader Thune and President Trump's desire to work on this when the government is reopened. And I'm willing to compromise on that. My colleagues are willing to compromise this, and it's something that can be done today if we need to. But our Republican colleagues have to be willing to compromise too. Compromise is a two-way street. And they have shown us that these, and we want them to show us that these are not just empty words, that they really are willing to compromise, and they do want to take action. So that's why we put forward this very simple proposal. Extend the tax credits for 1 year. We are not asking to make any major changes to the current law. Just extend that to protect people who are suffering right now and are hurting. We're just asking to keep the credits in place for 1 year so that families can see some immediate financial relief from the costs that are going through the roof, so that they can make important decisions about buying their health care right now during open enrollment. This is live. People are dealing with this situation as we speak. We can fix this. If we care about making sure families can afford their health care, we should all agree on that. We should get 100 votes here for people to say we're going to do everything we can to protect health care for Americans. And we can do that right now. And we can open up government right now. We can pay employees. We can move this country forward if we do that. All we need is a very simple extension of a law that's already existed for some time. We know that from the start that any deal will ultimately have to be a compromise. It doesn't have to be unanimous. There'll be likely folks on both sides that may feel uncomfortable with this, and I get that, and that's the way this place works. But our proposal would try to work in a bipartisan way by creating a bipartisan committee that will continue negotiations on reforms ahead of next year's enrollment process. So we're not pulling the rug out from underneath families. We're going to do it ahead of time so folks know exactly what to expect going forward. So I'm telling you now, Madam President, if we vote for this compromise today, we could open up government. This could all be behind us. Families could get some certainty for their future for the next year while we look at long-term solutions. The government can open, but it takes all of us just to say, we're willing to compromise for the good of the country. My colleagues are standing here saying we are willing to compromise for the good of the country. I just hope my Republican colleagues agree.
Now that I've had my Bosley hair transplant, my hair is thicker and more dense than it was in my younger years. I got my...
All right, guys, let's go over now to Mike Johnson. We got to do it the bipartisan way. So we're going to hear from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He's going to talk a little bit because this is MSNBC covering it. So they just covered the fact that he's less optimistic about ending the shutdown soon, which I didn't really like the sound of that. And after that, we'll jump over to Hakeem Jeffries and then over to Senator Thune. So let's hear what MSNBC covered with Mike Johnson first.
For a 15th time, and around the merry-go-round goes. Now, day 38 of the government shutdown, as lawmakers continue to look for some way out of this stalemate. Democrats told MSNBC yesterday they're discussing some kind of unity plan, maybe offering Senate Republicans a clean continuing resolution in exchange for a guaranteed vote on scaled-down Obamacare subsidies, maybe some talk of a deal that would require fired federal workers to be rehired. That's on the table, too, but no formal proposal by Democrats has been made. When asked about those potentials yesterday, President Trump reverted back to his usual talking points.
Well, we're going to see about the shutdown. Look, the shutdown is caused by the Democrats, and we're not going to spend $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion on health care for people that came into our country illegally, many of them from prisons and many of them drug dealers and murderers, 11,888 murderers. We're not doing that, so we'll see about that. We shouldn't... They should have, as they've done always in the past, it should have just been extended. It could have been extended very easily, and it should have been.
And then there's what Republicans are planning, because Senate Majority Leader John Thune is set to hold a vote today, offering their own solution, giving Democrats a chance to vote on a revised funding bill, along with full-year funding for things like veterans programs, food aid, and more. It's different kinds of appropriations packages. Democrats, though, remain skeptical, citing the lack of action on healthcare subsidies, and they're expected to block this vote for a 15th time. And around the merry-go-round goes. Yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson said he was less confident than the day before in regards to ending the shutdown, and then later refused to commit to a House vote on healthcare subsidies. Watch.
Less optimistic this morning than I was yesterday, because we were hearing that there were some common sense centrist Democrats who were talking to Republicans, but what I understand is that Chuck Schumer has pulled them back from that, and that they're being instructed and told they can't go there. No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out.
Meanwhile, a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to release full funding for November food stamps for roughly 42 million low-income Americans by today, after criticizing for delaying aid during the shutdown. The judge rebuked the Trump administration for causing, in their words, irreparable harm to Americans, including 16 million children, by failing to fund the program, and said it was unacceptable to delay these payments any further. But the Justice Department told the court it would appeal that ruling, stoking further fears that Americans won't receive full benefits to purchase groceries this month. When asked about the order yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance rebuked it, saying the Trump administration is working on funding these benefits.
It's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of a Democrat government shutdown, which what we'd like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government. Of course, then we can fund SNAP, and we can also do a lot of other good things for the American people. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation. We're trying to keep as much turned on. We're trying to keep as much going as possible. The president and the entire administration are working on that, but we're not going to do it under the orders of a federal judge. We're going to do it according to what we think we have to do to comply with the law, of course, but also to actually make the government work for people in the midst of the Democrat government shutdown.
So as we're tracking the shutdown impacts, starting today, the Federal Aviation Administration is mandating up to a 10% cut in domestic flights at dozens of the nation's busiest airports. Major hubs affected include airports in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas, with thousands of daily flights at risk. The disruptions are expected to ripple across domestic travel just ahead of the busy holiday season. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said this week the decision was made out of concern for safety due to staffing shortages as air traffic controllers go unpaid while the government remains closed. Amid all of this, President Trump now has re-upped talk of the issue of affordability and its role in Tuesday's elections. He hit on the topic multiple times yesterday during an Oval Office event on lowering costs for weight loss drugs.
It's the exact same dress my mom wore. Yeah, I found it on eBay.
You wash your whole body every day, so what?
For a 15th time, and around the merry-go-round goes. Yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson said he was less confident than the day before in regards to ending the shutdown, and then later refused to commit to a House vote on healthcare subsidies. Watch.
Less optimistic this morning than I was yesterday, because we were hearing that there were some common sense centrist Democrats who were talking to Republicans, but what I understand is that Chuck Schumer has pulled them back from that, and that they're being instructed and told they can't go there. No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out.
Meanwhile, a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to release full funding for November food stamps for roughly 42 million low-income Americans by today, after criticizing for delaying aid during the shutdown. The judge rebuked the Trump administration for causing, in their words, irreparable harm to Americans, including 16 million children, by failing to fund the program, and said it was unacceptable to delay these payments any further. But the Justice Department told the court it would appeal that ruling, stoking further fears that Americans won't receive full benefits to purchase groceries this month. When asked about the order yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance rebuked it, saying the Trump administration is working on funding these benefits.
It's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of a Democrat government shutdown, which what we'd like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government. Of course, then we can fund SNAP, and we can also do a lot of other good things for the American people. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation. We're trying to keep as much turned on. We're trying to keep as much going as possible. The president and the entire administration are working on that, but we're not going to do it under the orders of a federal judge. We're going to do it according to what we think we have to do to comply with the law, of course, but also to actually make the government work for people in the midst of the Democrat government shutdown.
So as we're tracking the shutdown impacts, starting today, the Federal Aviation Administration is mandating up to a 10% cut in domestic flights at dozens of the nation's busiest airports. Major hubs affected include airports in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas, with thousands of daily flights at risk. The disruptions are expected to ripple across domestic travel just ahead of the busy holiday season. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said this week the decision was made out of concern for safety due to staffing shortages as air traffic controllers go unpaid while the government remains closed. Amid all of this, President Trump now has re-upped talk of the issue of affordability and its role in Tuesday's elections. He hit on the topic multiple times yesterday during an Oval Office event on lowering cost for weight loss drugs.
I was angry last night with the Republicans. I said, you don't talk about this stuff. Nobody talks about it. You know, I rely on a question from a reporter to get that out. We should be talking about it because they talk about affordability. They don't have affordability. What the Democrats do is they lie. We are the ones that have done great on affordability. They've done horribly on affordability. The only thing is they go out and they take commercials how under the Democrats you have affordability. It's just the opposite. We have much lower prices than they do. And we only have one thing, beef, because the cattle ranchers are doing well. We're going to bring the beef prices down, and they understand that, even if we have to help them out. But the beef also is not a big difference, but every price is down. The biggest price is energy. We're at almost $2 for gasoline.
Okay, so quick fact check here. The national average for a gallon of gas is $3.08, according to AAA, 2 cents lower than this time last year. I want to bring in correspondent for PBS NewsHour, Lisa Desjardins. Lisa, you and I have been running around the Hill, and basically the only thing that's clear is that we are still in the thick of this major mess. I think both parties yesterday started to get a sense that they could change the contours somehow. So let's first start with how Republicans are planning on doing that. It's the same but different version of the vote that we've seen them do 14 times prior, and we expect this 15th vote later this afternoon to end the same. But what's different about it, and what's behind the Republican strat?
I'm gonna just say 14 votes of no on the Democrat side is literally crazy work. Like I get the healthcare thing, I do get it. I'm just like 14 times is a lot. Like I would have thought we would have already came to some type of agreement by now.
What did you hear?
Well, I think they're still figuring out their long-term strategy. I think today is yet another attempt to pressure Democrats by saying, let's fund some portion of the government. But it really, in this sense, this is all still messaging, honestly, because there's no end game here. There was a moment earlier this week, Tuesday, roughly, when it seemed like Democrats, some of them were, maybe a dozen of them by my account, were ready to actually engage and perhaps end the shutdown. But then two things happened. The election, overwhelming night for Democrats, and then President Trump saying Republicans are losing. Now, that did two things. It gave momentum to Democrats, but it also made it harder for them to really cave in, because here we can't do this when the president is saying they're losing.
Yeah.
So, and progressives got a lot of steam out of this. And it's not just political, it's not just for show. Behind the scenes, moderates actually are feeling like we need to ask for more. We need to actually get an end result on the ACA subsidies, not just the fight. We want the actual change.
So I think that brings us to the conversation that I've been having with Democratic sources and Democratic senators, which is the idea that they say that they are unified, They're just not 100% sure what they're unified behind yet. There's ideas about what they could be floating. Maybe it's a clean continuing resolution that funds the government until December, January, March. Like, I've heard all of these different dates. It's clear they're talking about ideas, but at the same time, there is also this really deep concern about the pain that Americans are feeling. So what is the new Democratic strategy, and what are they unified around, to your understanding?
Yeah, listen, as you and I are talking, there are people who are missing their third full paycheck, those who are paid bi-monthly today. But at the same time, the Senate is going almost as if the shutdown has just begun.
I know.
They're just entering like real negotiations or real considerations. So here's the state of play. As you're saying, the ideas, the list of ideas for Democrats has grown. That's actually a problem, and why I think this shutdown will last a little bit longer. Because of this momentum. You listed a whole bunch of them. I can add one more. Senator Tim Kaine, who is a key part of maybe trying to figure out the Tetris of all of this. He told me yesterday, now he wants, as part of this, and he said, basically, it's a must-have for him, that there will be some kind of guarantee that RIFs, those mass layoffs, will hopefully be rolled back, but at least some kind of guardrail so that there won't be more mass layoffs from the Trump administration. A lot of people in the Democratic Party, a lot of federal workers want that. However, it's hard for me to imagine Republicans agreeing to that. President Trump would never agree to that. This is all about sort of power, his power, but it's to say Democrats are adding more to this. It's making things more complicated. I think there's a kind of bottom line from where I see it, which is today is a window. If there's pressure on either side, then we'll see if they continue to stay this weekend, the Senate. Right now, I'm not sure they will.
I know.
If they don't, we're here for probably another week.
I know, 50-50 chance, because as I've been talking to senators who are part of these negotiations, they would argue that, it would be more painful to work a weekend. I get it. Nobody likes that. At the same time, the more time that these folks spend together, the pressure cooker environment is actually always what causes breakthroughs in these kinds of negotiations. I think you're right. Yesterday did feel, as we were standing outside of various huddles happening on the Hill, like negotiating was starting to happen, but where have they been for 30 plus days? I mean, ultimately, what is your timeline on how long this goes? If they stay the weekend, it's a good sign? Like, what are you looking at?
I had really thought the change, the FAA cancellations, was going to pressure Democrats. But the way that the administration has rolled this out, kind of saying one thing, at first it was 10%, now it's 4% today. It'll increase to 6% in a couple of days and move up. Democrats talking to them, senior aides and senior Democratic senators, they feel like it looks so blatantly political that it doesn't look like it really is just for safety. So what that means for Democrats is we don't feel the pressure. We think Republicans, we think the Trump administration is going to get blamed for this. Same thing with the SNAP benefits. That's another serious pain point for this country. But Democrats believe the way the Trump administration has done this, and a court order is coming out, the Judge McConnell yesterday called it political reasons that he believes that the Trump administration handled this. So all of this, these are pressure points that I think really Democrats would have felt, except for the way the Trump administration is doing it. Now, Republicans see it differently. They say, no, Democrats are going to be blamed. This is hurting their constituents. But the problem is, neither one is really feeling the pressure yet. Americans are feeling the pressure.
Americans are 100% feeling the pressure. And I know that senators know that, right? I mean, I have talked with staffers who are working on the Hill, people who just work for Congress itself. I've had staffers with tears in their eyes asking me, do you know when this is going to end? I mean, people who these senators see every single day are hurting. And it's
Capitol
not
Police.
Capitol
Every day.
Police among them every day, and it's not changing anything. Again, if they work the weekend, I think there's a glimmer of hope here. But again, hope springs eternal.
Agree.
We choose it to
remember, a lot of them have planned trips overseas this weekend too, so who
That's
knows?
a great point too. We'll leave it there for now. PBS NewsHour correspondent Lisa Desjardins, thank you. I will see you on the Hill.
See you on the Hill.
Hopefully we're busy. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, guys. So I'm going to go over now to Hakeem Jeffries. So we're going to listen to what he has to say. That's actually on his channel. So it says Leader Jeffries on MSNBC reports with Ana Cabrera. So that's where he's at. He's on MSNBC. Let's take a listen.
We're joined now by Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. Thank you so much, Congressman, for being here with us. Leader Jeffries, we just heard Senator Thune there with Ali Vitale say Democrats in the Senate are being browbeaten into submission. Those were his words. What say you?
Well, this is day 38 of the Trump Republican shutdown, and our position as Democrats remain clear. We will sit down with any Republicans, anytime, any place, in order to reopen the government, to find a bipartisan path forward, and to decisively address the Republican health care crisis. The problem with Johnson and Thune and the Republicans right now is that they continue to adopt the my way or the highway approach. And our view has been consistent. We will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people, particularly as it relates to the expiring Affordable Care Act tax credits.
We've heard from at least one Republican senator that he's had discussions with his House counterparts. I'm curious, are you aware of any negotiations like that crossing both chambers, and are you involved in any bipartisan talks right now?
I know there are informal conversations that are taking place, but at the leadership level, Donald Trump has not given Mike Johnson permission to actually sit down and have a substantive conversation with Democrats in the House. And unfortunately, until Donald Trump either gets off the sidelines or gives Mike Johnson permission to actually have a meaningful conversation, we're not going to see anything productive emerge from the House of Representatives. And understand that House Republicans have now been on vacation for 6 consecutive weeks, canceled votes for 6 consecutive weeks. And they'd rather just remain on vacation than actually ensure that children in this country are able to put food on the table, and that everyday Americans don't see dramatically increased healthcare premiums, copays, and deductibles, which we know in some instances will increase by $1,000 or $2,000 per month.
What do you need to see in any potential Senate plan to reopen the government to say, okay, Democrats should back this?
Well, first of all, John Thune needs to stop trying to bluff his way into an agreement. Sit down and have a conversation with Leader Schumer, or let's have a four corners conversation, House, Senate, Democrats, Republicans, along with the administration, to find a bipartisan agreement forward. Now, our view has been that we will evaluate in good faith any bipartisan agreement that emerges from the Senate, as long as it decisively addresses this Republican healthcare crisis, where we've seen Republicans devastate people this year. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health centers closing all across the country because of Republican policies connected to their one big ugly bill. We know that Medicare is facing a $536 billion cut this year if Congress doesn't act by the end of December. And if we don't extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans all across this country are going to be able, not be able to access their health care or see a doctor when they need it because of the unaffordability of health insurance.
So let me try to nail this down. Short of a vote on Obamacare subsidies prior to reopening the government, what else might get Democrats behind a funding bill? Could a promised date to vote on Obamacare subsidies be enough?
Well, listen, at least as it relates to the House of Representatives, I'm not going to speak to the Senate, and the Senate Democrats, of course, are taking the lead there. But in terms of the House of Representatives, this group of extreme MAGA Republicans have voted to rip the Affordable Care Act away from people more than 70 different times in the last 15 years. And so they have zero credibility as it relates to the issue of providing affordable health care to everyday Americans. In
so
fact,
a promise for a vote won't work for you?
I mean, listen, we have to have a real path forward to address the Republican health care crisis. I don't want to negotiate in public, but it has to be a meaningful path forward. And the American people are clearly demanding that happen. The American people clearly want to see us deal with the affordability crisis. We saw that happen all throughout America on Tuesday. That's why Republicans were crushed.
Here's what Speaker Johnson said yesterday about that path forward, or lack thereof.
The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I'll tell you what they wanted. I'll tell you what Schumer and Jeffries wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer said it publicly and decried that Thune and I would not go in a back room with them and make a four corners agreement on Obamacare subsidies. And I said, there's no way.
Response to that.
Well, listen, the states that are going to be most impacted by a failure to extend the Affordable CARE Act tax credits are Republican-run states. West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, and Tennessee. 45% of the people who benefit from the Affordable Care Act tax credits are registered Republicans, 35% Democrats, and 20% independents. This is an American issue. This is not a partisan issue for us. We're fighting to protect the health care of the American people. And, Johnson clearly has zero interest. Now, when they passed that one big ugly bill, they ripped health care away from about 14 million Americans, and they did it so that they could provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors, and they made those tax breaks permanent.
Let's talk about this new SNAP lawsuit. President Trump's team appealing, essentially fighting in court to not have to give people their SNAP benefits, which means this crisis is headed back to Congress's lap. Could this accelerate talks?
Well, it's incredible to me that Donald Trump and Republicans have decided to weaponize hunger and starvation by unlawfully, at this point, withholding SNAP benefits from 42 million Americans. That includes 16 million children, 8 million older Americans, and over 1 million veterans who rely on SNAP benefits in order to put food on the table. But this is no surprise when you consider the fact that in their one big ugly bill, earlier this year in July, Republicans already enacted the largest cut to SNAP benefits in American history, $186 billion cut. They literally ripped food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans, part of their scheme to benefit the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected as it relates to their donors. So this is a continuation of that level of cruelty that we've seen from Republicans, and the American people reject it. And, I hope that the Court of Appeals denies the administration's request to continue to suspend these SNAP benefits. And I'm thankful for the federal district court judge who did the right thing in ordering them to pay these benefits out immediately.
I don't think a lot of Americans care who's to blame. They just need to eat. And here's what one SNAP recipient in Pennsylvania told NBC News, quote, "When you're in a position to provide for people who are depending on these life-sustaining services, how can you be at war with each other in the midst of people trying to survive? These are some of the hardest times I've seen in 50 years. Those words from a 50-year-old SNAP recipients. Leader Jeffries, it is now day 38. In addition to the millions of SNAP recipients struggling to put food on the table, air travel's a mess. Thousands of workers haven't been paid for over a month. Where's the urgency to end this in Washington?
That's a great question. It should be asked of Mike Johnson. Where's the urgency in actually bringing the House of Representatives back into session? They have canceled votes for the last 6 weeks. Democrats continue to be present and make clear that we're ready, willing, and able to sit down with our Republican colleagues, reopen the government, have a bipartisan agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people. And that individual that you reference is exactly right. America's too expensive. Donald Trump and Republicans promised that they would lower costs on day one. They haven't lowered costs. Costs have gone up. Inflation on the way up. Housing costs too high. Grocery costs too high. Electricity bills skyrocketing through the roof. And now they want to jack up health insurance premiums, and they're ripping food away from the mouths of children at the same time to try to use that as a point of negotiating leverage. That's shameful. It's unconscionable. It's un-American. And yet we continue to maintain that all we need to do is sit down and have a conversation so we can enact a bipartisan spending agreement that actually improves the quality of life of the American people.
Let me ask you about another topic quickly while I have you. Your New York GOP colleague, Elise Stefanik, just announced this morning she's running for governor of New York, promising to make the state affordable and safe. Of course, that affordability argument worked for Democrats this week, including for Zoran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist who just became the next New York City mayor. And he has been a political punching bag for the right and divisive among your own party. Do you think Stefanik's going to make this race a referendum on Mamdani, and could it work?
Elise Stefanik is nothing more than a handmaiden for Donald Trump's extreme policies. She's a sycophant who has been a repeated rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda that is doing nothing but hurting the people of New York and everyday Americans across the country. If Elise Stefanik really wants to do something about the high cost of living, she should tell her boss, Donald Trump, to end these reckless tariffs, which are increasing costs by thousands of dollars per year on New York families and on families across America.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate your time.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna say he didn't answer the question, but I don't think he answered many questions. I don't think he answered some of the questions. But Hakeem is very scripted, and he likes to stay on point. Like, he's not gonna go off point. That's one thing about him. I used to get so frustrated with him, like, years ago, but I've just learned, like, that's just how he is. He's very scripted. If he's gonna be backed into the corner, he'll literally tell the reporter, like, that's all I've already said what I've said. I'm not gonna go any further. So that's just how he is. So let's go over now to Senator Thune, because they were talking about him. It says Senator Thune issues bold warning to Dems on shutdown, telling them it will cost them. So let's take a listen.
Amazing means Robert gets to meet his grandson for the first time.
Let's open the government up. Let's pay our controllers and reduce the pressure. That's not happening. The Senate actually is going home this weekend. As many people here can't get home, the Senate goes home. They should be here every day, every weekend, every week trying to find a deal so we can open the government back up. I'm getting sniped at by some Democrats. I don't like it. I didn't put us in this situation. They did. And to those passengers that are upset, listen, call your Democrat senator. 14 times they voted no to open up the government.
That's crazy.
That's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy speaking from Reagan National Airport just moments ago as flight cancellations ramp up on day 38 of the shutdown. So now it gets very real. And it comes as Senate Republicans are expected to hold a test vote on a new plan to reopen the government. So with that, let's bring in Senate Majority Leader John Thune. So good to have you here. A headline in Axios this morning said that emboldened Dems push to prolong shutdown. And here is Chris Murphy to punch bowl as well. Watch.
I think there will be some pretty substantial damage done to a Democratic brand that has been rehabilitated if on the heels of an election in which the people told us to keep fighting, we immediately stop fighting. If we surrender without having gotten anything, and we cause a lot of folks in this country who had started to believe in the Democratic Party to retreat again, I worry that it will be hard to sort of get them back up off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle.
Well, points for honesty, I guess. But one of the things I'm wondering, Senator, is are we farther away from trying to get this settled today on Friday than we were on Monday?
Dana, the Democrats just have to take yes for an answer. We've given them everything essentially that they were asking for, the reasonable Democrats, not the crazy ones like what you just heard. But they literally yesterday at their Democratic caucus meeting in the Senate had a pep rally. I mean, they are celebrating this. It's insane. And what's happening is the far left, which is the tail wagging the dog, is bullying the reasonable Democrats out of coming to the table. We have a proposal that they have been reviewing and looking at now for several days, mostly with things that they asked for, including a normal appropriations process. We open up the government. They get a vote on their Obamacare fix. They want to sit down, meet with the president on a path forward. He's more than willing to do that. All those things are in play, but they can't take yes for an answer for fear. I mean, these people are scared spitless of their base, and that's what's happening. Yesterday was a bullying session. The far left in the Democrat caucus bullied the reasonable ones out of coming to the table and settling this. I'm still hoping that these people are going to come to the table, and we'll find out soon enough.
How do you plan to do that? I think that's what's interesting is that Democrats following the elections on Tuesday, as Chris Murphy is just explaining there, again, they feel emboldened. They want to dig in their heels. Do you need President Trump to weigh in more here? And how would you like him to do that?
Well, President Trump is more than willing to weigh in and to talk to the Democrats about path forward on how to fix the unaffordability and unsustainability problems of Obamacare, a problem the Democrats created. The president's more than willing to help them fix that, but not while the government is being held hostage. All the president's saying is, open up the government, then let's sit down and talk on a path forward. That's been offered up. I mean, I don't know how you can be more reasonable This is really a handful of Democrats who, it's all we need is 5 to come forward. But they, again, are being bullied by their leadership, by the far left in this country. And as a consequence of that, you've got troops, men and women in uniform, are going without pay. You got women and children who are going to be going without WIC and food stamps. You've got people who are working in airlines and airports, as you heard Secretary Duffy say earlier, and flight delays and everything that goes with that. The pain is multiplying for the American people, and the Democrats yesterday at their caucus meeting, Dana, were celebrating it. It was a big pep rally, and I just don't know how you defend that to the American people who are the ones that are suffering.
I don't know if this is the case, but I understand that one of the possibilities is to get the government funded until January. But if we have this same problem in January, what's going to change on Obamacare? Because those subsidies are not going to get any less expensive.
Right, but I mean, I think we will have a normal appropriations, we'll have passed most of the bills. That's what we got right now. And we got a 3-bill package that's passed the Senate already. We want to attach the CR to that now, get those 3 bills signed into law by the president, and get to work on the rest of the appropriations process. That's something the Democrats have said in the past that they want to do. But now, I mean, they're running for cover. I mean, these people are afraid, they are scared, and that's the challenge we have right now in dealing with the Democrats. But I still think there are a handful of the reasonable ones who we wear into the weekend here. And by the way, we're going to give them a chance to vote later today on paying people who are working. But if they don't at some point come to the table and open up the government, the American people are going to continue to suffer. And I don't know how
Could
they
this
can
go into
sustain this
Thanksgiving?
position. No, I don't believe so. If it does, it's going to be up to them. But honestly, I think there's a path forward here. All they have to do is take yes for an answer. We've offered them a solution. The president's willing to meet with them. I'm willing to give them the vote. All the things that they said they wanted. This has now become a function of, this is Trump derangement syndrome. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. And these folks in their caucus right now, they don't care what the issue is. If President Trump is involved with it, they just want to fight.
Last question. After the races that were won in Georgia on Tuesday, the other part of your job is making sure that you keep the Senate majority. Looking at that and knowing that a year goes by pretty quickly, are you concerned that the Democrat John Ossoff could win again in Georgia? And then if you have Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, running as a centrist, like Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, do those races become more expensive or harder for you to win?
I think they're going to be hard and expensive. I think this is a country that's very divided. You won't have in a midterm election President Trump on the ballot. He is the person that brings a lot of our voters to the polls, which means we're going to have to double down and work really, really hard on getting the vote out. But Dina, I don't think you can read too much into this. I mean, I've been around here long enough. I've been through off-year elections, midterm elections, presidential elections, and things change in a hurry. But what I can tell you right now is we need to get the government opened up for the American people. And they're the ones who are hurting from all this. And ultimately, the Dems may think they're winning in the short term, but this is going to cost them in the long term, because it's very clear right now. I mean, they're owning it. They're taking credit for it. They're out there bragging about this. You've seen some of these Democrat senators and House members out there on a daily basis, basically saying we're going to double down, and I just think this is it's an unsustainable position for them. And they may think they're winning in the near term, but believe me, the American people are going to have an opportunity next year to weigh the differences in the direction of this country and where the president and the Republican majorities here in the Congress are taking us. It's going to be a stronger economy, a safer country, a more secure country, and a country where working people have opportunities to advance and get better paying jobs.
Senator Thune, thank you. We'll touch base with you next week.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
If you live in a Delaware zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen carefully. I was an insurance agent for 30 years, and what I'm about to tell you could save you up to 80% on your auto insurance. Here's what the industry doesn't want you to know. Delaware drivers pay the most for car insurance out of any state in the country. As we all know from the recent 2025 leak, insurance companies are now in trouble for overcharging Delaware drivers by as much as 80% for the same coverage. Call drivers in this state gold tier clients, the ones we'd fight to keep because of inflated commission. But here's the dirty secret. If you're in Delaware, they won't let you know you can lower your rate now, and they're happy to keep overcharging you. My neighbor Jessica from Wilmington, perfect record, is paying $180 a month for 15 years. I told her, try out my new website. She found the same coverage for $72. Saved 60% after filling out the form through my official website. After 30 years in insurance, here's the truth. If you live in Delaware and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, you're being overcharged. But they won't call you with a better rate. Why would they? You're already paying too much, and their shareholders love it. I'd quietly tell my favorite clients, be proactive. Go through my service and get what you deserve. When you click below, you'll reach my website where you just fill out an application. It takes about 5 minutes. It will ask for your zip code, about your vehicle, and some other information. Then it will show you what you qualify for. Delaware drivers with 0 DUIs can save up to $610 per year.
All right, guys, we're going to go over to J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance is the one that called the judge's SNAP benefit order absurd. We got a chance to see a little bit of it in the first clip, so now we'll watch this one in its entirety where it's just J.D. talking.
Live to the White House and CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Zhang. Weijia, thank you for your time. Can you tell us more about this ruling? And do we know if people will get their full SNAP benefits today?
Well, we know that the Department of Justice immediately appealed this ruling and filed the paperwork this morning. So at this time, it's unclear what happens to those funds. But the administration previously this week said that they would provide about half of the SNAP benefits with a contingency fund, even though after the Department of Justice and the Department of Agriculture said they were taking steps to ensure that process was going through, the president posted and said that no SNAP money would be going out until after the government reopened. So there was already confusion there. And then it was after that that this judge in Rhode Island made another ruling that said, no, you actually have to pay all of the SNAP benefits by today. And that's where we are right now, because again, the administration has appealed. But previously, the White House has insisted that they would at least supply some of the money, and they did not intend on defying the court order. So we'll have to see what plays out today. But the bottom line is, Mugo, that 42 million people or so here in this country rely on those benefits. And so that is why there's this court order for the government to provide it. But, you know, we also heard from the president who said because that's a contingency fund we're talking about, you know, you can't just spend that amount of money on one thing. He said he wanted to preserve it in case of emergency for other things.
Okay, Weijia, while we have you here, I want to ask you about a few pardons the president granted just yesterday. What do we know about who he let off the hook?
So President Trump has already pardoned a string of former officials on the state and federal level. And we confirmed yesterday that he has pardoned the former Tennessee Speaker of the House, former Representative Glenn Quesada, and his former Chief of Staff, Cade Cothran, who were both convicted on federal money laundering charges. They were accused and again found guilty and sentenced to prison time, actually, 3 years and 2.5 years respectively, for launching what turned out to be an illegitimate business to funnel money into their own accounts. But the White House issued a statement to say that the Biden Department of Justice over-prosecuted. They said that in the end it was a $5,000 profit that they were talking about, and that the punishment simply did not fit the crime. And so that is why they are explaining this pardoning. But you know, of course, critics are already sounding alarm bells about whether this was the right move, Mugo.
Okay, Weijia Zhang at the White House for us today. Thank you.
If you're thinking of selling your home soon, you don't want to miss out on this. Not only will our team buy your house fast, we can also pay
All right, so from JD, we're gonna now go over to, we got CNN. Henry Enton sees major warning sign for Republicans in election. So he kind of covered not just the fact that it was a blue wave, but kind of the increase in numbers on the blue wave, because a lot of, like Mike Johnson and a lot of people on the conservative side were saying that, there should be no surprise to us that blue states voted for Democrats. Like there's no surprise that New Jersey voted for a Democrat. Just like if right now Alabama voted for a Republican governor, no one would write about that because it wouldn't be surprising. So he also talks about the increase in numbers, like what Kamala Harris won the state by versus the increase in what we see today. So let's take a listen.
Do well. I mean, just take a look at the House special elections. Take a look.
Republicans are brushing off the losses in Tuesday's election, saying that the results don't signal a real shift in how voters are feeling. House leaders insisting that Dems only won in Dem territory. Watch this.
If Alabama held an election also Tuesday, and gee whiz, a Republican governor was elected governor of Alabama, would anybody be writing a story about it? Of course not. So let them go celebrate New Jersey electing a Democrat governor, New York City electing a Democrat.
CNN's Harry Enton looking into this and running the numbers. That's Steve Scalise's take here. What do you see?
Yeah, I disagree entirely. I think that the House is on fire, and he's like the dog saying, this is fine. Take a look at this. It's all about the margins, baby. Look, Democratic candidates' margins. In 2024 pres in New Jersey, Kamala Harris won by 6. What happened on Tuesday? Well, right now, Mikey Sherrill's ahead by 13. That might be 14 very quickly. We're talking about a shift of at least 7 points, upwards of 8. How about in Virginia? We had Kamala Harris winning by 6. What do we have Abigail Spanberger winning by? Winning by 15. We're talking about a shift of about 9 points. If we had, let's say, an average 8-point shift across the board in all the different House seats from the 2024 press result to then what happened in the 2026 House elections, you would be talking about a Democratic gain of about 20 seats, depending on redistricting. So when I see those results on Tuesday night, I see these huge shifts in the Democratic direction. I say, Republican leaders, wake the heck off and have some of what I'm having, because this is a major warning sign.
Is this track with other elections we've already had this year?
Yes, that's exactly right. So you see New Jersey, you see Virginia, but those are not the only signs. When voters vote, Democrats do well. I mean, just take a look at the House special elections. Take a look here, the 2025 House special elections. Look at those in which Democrats outran Kamala Harris. There have been 5 House special elections so far this year. In every single one of them, across the board, Virginia, Texas 18, that was on Tuesday night, Florida 6, Florida 1, Arizona 7. From blue districts like Arizona 7 to red districts like Florida 1 and 6, what we are seeing are clear shifts towards the Democratic candidates in all 5 of them. And we're talking about shifts on average, Kate Baldwin, of about or north of 15 percentage points from the 2024 presidential baseline, which is even larger than the shifts that we saw in both Virginia and New Jersey on Tuesday night.
I mean, and a million things can happen in the year until the midterms. With that caveat, what are you seeing?
A year is a very long period of time, but you know, we've spoken about this. I like going through history. What do these...
Hi, I'm Joy. I come with every jar of Skippy.
Do these off-year elections usually forecast for the year ahead for the midterm elections? Well, I mean, we take a look at the House special elections, right? If a party outperforms in House special elections 5 out of 5 times, what do we see? They've gone on to win the U.S. House the following midterm every single time since the 2005-2006 cycle. So when you see, of course, that the Democrats are outperforming in all of them, historically speaking, that means they go on to win the U.S. House of Representatives in the following midterm. And then, yes, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, yes, these are blue city in New York City, yes, the blue states in Virginia and New Jersey, but historically speaking, when you sweep all 3, you go back since the FDR administration, guess what? The Democrats, when they sweep all 3, go on to win the House 5 out of 5 times. So it's the special elections, it's New Jersey, New York City, Virginia, All those put together, yes, it is a year from now, but all those put together usually forecast pain for the Republican Party come the midterm elections. If I'm Steve Scalise, I am not dismissing these results. I'm going to try and get myself some fire insurance.
Might also have something to do with what Steve Scalise, what Republican leaders say in public versus the conversations that they're having.
They might be trying to quell the troops, but know very well that this is not good news.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
And my panel is back. Josh Dawsey, let me just show our viewers what the actual numbers are, what people are actually feeling out there. Clear majorities say that groceries, utilities are getting more expensive for them. They think their health care and their housing have either gone up, stayed the same, and they're split on the issue that the president talks about a lot, which is gas prices.
Right, and that's, the president won the election for the number one reason of the economy. If you looked at how he polled above Kamala Harris, above Joe Biden, he had double digit across the board. Voters thought he would be better to handle the economy. And I think that's a real vulnerability for him now. If you talk to people around him, they would say the same thing. They're trying to figure out their economic messaging. And what the president has said continuously, if things going to get better, it's going to get better, it's already going down. But people don't really believe that, as that poll shows. And if you saw President Biden, remember when they said transitory inflation, it's all going away? How did that turn out? I don't think it turned out so well for them. So the White House is an economic message, trying to figure out what can you say that sort of, lets people know you hear them, you're feeling them, you understand what they're going through, and also Trump doesn't like to admit any sort of weaknesses or challenges or vulnerabilities or anything like that. So exactly how do you do that? I don't think they've quite figured that out yet. A lot of the messaging that even his advisors have given him in private is, in 2026, the economy is going to be better, the numbers are going to get better, all of our policies are going to go in place. It's a long way from now, and it remains to be seen if that's true or not.
And it's not only, I would argue, that he doesn't like to be told things aren't working. He believes, and he has a lot of evidence to back up his belief, that when he says things enough times, that he can be successful in changing people's minds or convincing people that what he is saying is actually true. When you're talking about somebody standing in line at the grocery store and looking in their wallet and not having money to pay for the food for their kids, that's hard to convince somebody that that's not happening to them.
Yeah, you can get people to believe a lie by repeating it over and over again until it affects their lives. They can believe what he says about the 2020 election, about January 6th, or whatever, because he repeats it over and over again. But when he says prices are going down, empirically, they are not going down. And if you are going to the grocery store and you are paying more to feed your family, you fully know this. I mean, he talks about gasoline. Sometimes he talks about it being less than $2 a gallon. I mean, I haven't seen that. But this is the reality. Look, these races, especially New Jersey and Virginia, were about the cost of living. Obviously, Mamdani was a centerpiece of his campaign as well in New York. In New Jersey, it was interesting, with electricity prices way up, with the grocery prices way up. Voters could have blamed Democrats. Democrats are in charge in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy, but clearly the blame was put on Trump and Republican policies.
And I'll let you spend some time talking to voters out in New Jersey, especially before the election on Tuesday. And I just want to read kind of a synopsis from our friends over at Axios, Jim Vandehei and Mike Allen, why it matters. Democrats are more likely to fight harder in Congress, donate more generously, protest more loudly, resist Trump's policies more vigorously. They believe for the first time since Trump won, they can stand up to the president and beat him.
And that's something that a lot of voters that I spoke to, Democratic voters, really wanted to see from their leaders. And now time will tell what exactly that invigoration of the Democratic Party will look like. Will more donors start donating to races across the country? Will it mobilize more Democratic candidates to sign up to run in competitive races? But on the issue of affordability, when I talked to voters in New Jersey, repeatedly, it was high property taxes, which is always an issue in New Jersey, and then energy costs. And I think that issue of high utility bills is going to resonate going forward. In New Jersey, they saw their electricity bills go up by 21% since last year. Nationwide,
That's
that's
a
up
lot.
6%. And so unless Republicans find a way to address that, which in many ways is like the new grocery prices or gas prices, energy was just a refrain that I heard over and over from voters in New
Yeah,
Jersey.
it's such a good point, and it's so important for us to watch. One of the sectors of the electorate that we looked at in a big way in 2020 and even more so in 2024, what we call the double haters, people who just can't stand both parties. And which way are they going to go if they have to choose a party? It was Donald Trump and Republicans the last election, but this time it was largely the Democrats. I mean, look at these numbers. Mikey Sherrill, 82%. These are, again, voters who don't like either party. They went for the Democrat in New Jersey, the Democrat in Virginia, obviously the Democrat in New York, and they voted overwhelmingly for Prop 50 in California.
Well, and I think that that is a sign that this was much more of a rejection of Trump and the Republicans than it was a resounding mandate for the Democrats. Now, the Democrats have every right to be happy about this result. They far exceeded the margins in pretty much any poll in all of these elections. But exactly as you said, you know, there are a lot of people out there who still are not big fans of the Democratic Party. And in those exit polls, in fact, the popularity of the Democratic Party was quite low, but people are voting for Democrats anyway to send a message that they don't like what's happening in Washington, that they don't like what Trump is doing, that they don't think the Republicans are solving the problems that they were elected to solve. And, you know, and to a lot of Republicans, this is one big unforced error by Trump. You know, he is up there at the Supreme Court defending the tariffs that most economists believe are a major part of these price increases and the stubborn inflation that we are having, and that are not something that most other Republican presidents would have supported. But he insists that these are part of reshaping the economy in the long term, and that means short-term economic pain, and voters don't like it.
Guys, got hair loss? I know what you're thinking. Should I shave my head? Comb it over? Wear a hat?
Nobody likes short-term economic pain. Nobody likes it. All right, hold on. My fault, chat. Give me 1 second.
And with the shockwaves.
All right, just to keep it bipartisan, let me go over to MSNBC so we can watch as MAGA loses, Obama pounds cruel Trump voters, speak as GOP. I don't really want to hear anything from Obama. Like, this is just my opinion. If you guys like Obama, I don't care. That's fine. But I usually don't like to hear much from him. But I just want to hear something because he's been kind of tooting his horn lately since the Democrats had that blue wave. So let's listen to what he's got to say.
An earthquake that is reshaping our politics. What started Tuesday night has really continued to resonate across the week. Democratic wins in what are off-year elections. And when you go into the data, and all the people have been crunching the numbers even more as the days go on, you can see it was a lot more than just the governor's races. The trend lines are a warning for Republicans if Democrats could continue this and run good candidates and stay united. Now, those are obviously big ifs if you know politics. President Obama is taking a more active role than usual in the past election cycles, especially for an off year. We saw him not only on the stump, but today he waded in, which he doesn't always do. These are his first public comments about those Democratic victories, something of a victory lap for him, given that he was out in the field. And he discussed what he calls the voters' rejection of a cruel Trump agenda.
It was a good reminder that it turns out that the American people are paying attention. They don't want cruelty. They're not looking for people on the top trying to entrench themselves in power. They believe in community. They believe in treating people with decency and respect.
You can hear the applause. He was speaking at a gathering of Pod Save America, which is a hit media company series of podcasts from Obama veterans. You can see behind him as well Alex Wagner, an MSNBC anchor who also has done a podcast for them. And so it was, of course, in the crowd cheering, a very friendly Obama kind of crowd. But the things he said do seem to relate to what a heck of a lot of other people thought who aren't partisan Democrats, but are voters in places that Trump had done well before, including Pennsylvania and parts of rural Virginia. Trump is not on board with that exact interpretation, although he knows he lost, and he hasn't been lying about that in contrast to some other Republican losses. But he is lying about some of the economics. The polling shows affordability and economic anxiety drove the Republicans' losses here, which, again, to both have a memory and to be fair, as they say, is also what drove Democratic losses in Biden, the Biden-Harris agenda, a year ago. We do know, and we've mentioned this in our reporting, James Carville and others, Jay Comanduri have talked about it on this very program, voters punish incumbents when the economics are bad. The Carville phrase, it's the economy stupid, updated to it's affordability stupid, and Republicans paying a price for Trump's forgotten promise. Forgotten, of course, is a charitable way to put it. There are Democrats, liberals, experts, critics who argued that Trump never meant much about his promises on prices. He certainly has pushed boundaries and spent political capital or energy or whatever you want to call it this year, and never on infrastructure, which he used to talk about, or any national plan to really lower prices. As you know, he has what the courts are questioning might be new taxes in the tariffs. He's picked a lot of big fights over culture issues. He's indicted political opponents in a way that might be unlawful. We'll find out. Point is, he's done a lot of stuff, but hasn't done much of anything on prices. His critics say he never was going to. He wasn't serious. Democrats now say they know how to run on this better than before. Politics moves fast, technology and media changes. And so what Trump was selling last year, literally a year ago in November, seemed to work a bit, and it is not working now. In a way, he's caught in his own trap, because people do remember how much he said he would do, and that he said the prices were a problem. He now owns that economy, and now he's just using the A word, affordability, like saying it will make it real.
So the affordability is much better with the Republicans. The only problem is the Republicans don't talk about it. We are the ones that have done great on affordability. They've done horribly on affordability. I don't want to hear about the affordability.
Talk about it. That is someone who knows about talk. But whether he's all talk is the question that voters are pushing to him. He was a member of the media, whatever you want to call it, an entertainer, a reality show host, for many years. He looks at what just happened and sees it as a communications issue. We talked about it before, but we're not talking about it the right way now. And I will just say, as fairly as we can, this is not an issue about talking. It's about doing. It's about whether the government is working for you or whether it's shut down indefinitely because the people in charge, and Republicans control both political branches, either can't get it done or don't want to support health care during these economic tough times, both of which appear to be losing messages, at least in the places that we got to vote on Tuesday, as well as in the polling. Trump's making misleading claims about gas. It's over $3. Trump claims on inflation don't add up. Grocery prices still going up, increasing by over a point this year. And then over on Fox News, some of the coverage is here on planet Earth. Take a look.
Prices are up in the United States for coffee. It's up almost 20%. Utility up 11.7%. And then electricity is up 5.1%. And vehicle repair, if you need your car fixed, it's up 11.5%.
Count it up. Numbers don't lie. Those are actual numbers about the economic problems, coupled with Tuesday's actual numbers about the voters' response. Now, Zohar Mamdani has campaigned on this, and we had him on this program on election eve, and he's put it very concisely in our rapid-fire lightning round. A reason conservatives are welcome in your Democratic Party is they also have to pay rent. Simple as that. They have to pay rent. And I'm going to show you in a minute what Obama said about having an open and big tent that includes centrists, military veterans, people with different economic ideas, as well as what you heard from there, the Democratic Socialists. Now, Trump has long bragged that he's a billionaire. Even before, according to Forbes, he was one. This year, though, he is making real money, not just talking about it. Hundreds of millions of dollars in crypto that we know about, which presents a huge conflict of interest. He used to call crypto a scam. Now his family makes the money off it. He threw a tone-deaf Great Gatsby party flaunting wealth while people are struggling and hurting more under his shutdown.
Take a look.
All right, guys, so we're going to go to President Trump. Now, this is a shorter clip. Democrats pitch new plan to reopen the government. I want to see what he has to say about it. So this is a much shorter clip. And then after that, we'll go to Bernie Sanders annihilating Schumer for shunning Madami, and then we'll go to the Christian clip. So let's jump into President Trump.
Weekend, but tonight we have new signs on Capitol Hill. Senator Chuck Schumer offering Republicans a deal to reopen the government a short time ago.
All right, it's breaking news first at 5 tonight. Sharon Crowley in the newsroom following it all. Sharon.
Yeah, everyone watching this hoping a deal can be reached. The government shutdown going into the weekend, but tonight we have new signs on Capitol Hill of potential movement. Democrats offering up a new plan to try to reopen the government. Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has just offered a new proposal to fund the government at current levels and extend the health care subsidies for a year. Negotiations would then get underway for a more substantial plan to lower insurance premiums and fix the Affordable Care Act. So far, though, Republicans have not responded favorably to the Democrats' proposal. Meantime, President Trump has his own ideas for ending the stalemate.
If we terminate the filibuster, the second vote that we will take will be to open up the country. If the filibuster is not terminated, then we will be in a slog with the Democrats, and very little for either party will be done.
And due to this ongoing shutdown, funding SNAP benefits has run into delays and legal challenges. A federal judge gave the Trump administration until today to fully fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. But the administration asked the appeals court to suspend any court orders requiring it to spend more money than is available in the contingency fund. Instead, Trump's legal team asking the court to allow it to continue with the planned partial SNAP payments for the month of November. 42 million Americans rely on these benefits, and this partial funding has caused delays, and the recipients of the benefits have really been feeling the impact of these cuts. But just late this afternoon, literally within the last hour, Governor Hochul announcing that she has directed state agencies to issue full federal SNAP benefits for November. She said the first New Yorkers can expect to begin having access to their benefits will be on Sunday. So some good news coming there. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Cool. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks so much.
What makes a golf trip special? Honestly, even if your game is in shambles, it doesn't matter. You're out here for the vibes.
Just hanging with your friends, right? You can tell stories with each other. Sharing this experience, that's the simplest answer I can give. That's awesome.
I'm Dana Perino along with Emily Campagno, Piers Morgan, Charlie Hurting, Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five.
Dude, I don't mind the 5, but I don't want to watch the 5 tonight. So we're going to go to Bernie annihilate Schumer for shunning Zohran. So Zohran Mamdani is New York City's new mayor. He is, I believe he's 30 or 33 years old. I think he's 30. He's never had a job before. He's been an intern, and now he is the mayor of New York City. He is a Muslim, and he has already went on record to say that he will stay being a Muslim publicly, and he will continue to fight for the rights for things as such, because I watched that live. So we're going to take a look at how Bernie got upset about Chuck Schumer shunning him, and basically so did Hakeem Jeffries. These two guys basically would not go on record to say that they voted for Mamdani. It wasn't until after he won where they both kind of showed some support. But Chuck Schumer was asked, did he vote? He said, yes, I voted. The reporter said, who did you vote for? He didn't want to say. He said, I voted, and whoever wins, I'm going to continue to lock arms with them and, you know, do the work. But he would not say who he voted for. I have a hard time believing he would vote for Mamdani, knowing that he is, I guess we can call him anti-Jewish, right? I'm not going to say there's anti-Semitism surrounding him, but the rumors seem to be true based on what we're seeing and what he has said thus far. So let's take a look at what Bernie has to say.
But most importantly and interestingly,
what is the risk for the midterms next year if the party leadership does not embrace this plank of the party?
Well, party leadership did not support Mamdani in New York, and he won. Party leadership is not supporting Plattner in Maine, and I think he's going to win. So I think it is, you know, I think there is a growing understanding that leadership and defending the status quo and the inequalities that exist in America is not where the American people are.
So that, as you all probably know, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, and he commandeered, he sort of took over a press conference that was going to be a press conference for Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer in D.C. And before Schumer took the stage, Senator Sanders came in, took the Democratic leadership, as you just heard, to task for not lending their support to now Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, and didn't do it when he was running. And we're going to hear what Schumer had to say in response. But first, Cenk, what have you got on this?
it made me think of, like, what if Bernie was the Senate Minority Leader? Let alone if you were other positions, but that's the type of message we need to hear, I believe. So we're going to get into here what does Schumer eventually say, but most importantly and interestingly, what are other Democrats saying today about Mamdani and about the direction of the Democratic Party and the things they say and then the things they don't say? So you'll see.
I sense this is going to be one of the episodes where you and I don't agree on every single thing we talk about.
Oh, no. We won't agree on this. We won't agree later on Pelosi. It'll be fun.
We'll agree in essence on this, but we won't agree fully on that. Anyway, stay tuned and you'll see. During Senator Sanders' pop-in at the Schumer press conference, Sanders also admitted that there is a clear divide within the Democratic Party, which of course we all knew, that was brought to the forefront again thanks to the election in New York. Here's Senator Sanders.
This guy started his campaign at 1% in the polls. I called it one of the great political upsets in the modern history of America, and I think that's really quite true. So who did he take on? He took on oligarchs who put millions and millions of dollars to try to defeat him. He took on the Republican establishment, and of course he took on the Democratic establishment.
But is the Democratic leader part of the old?
Why do you want to create? Look, obviously you have a Democratic establishment. I ran for president against the Democratic establishment. That's what Mamdani did. It's no great secret. That's what Alexandria did. No great secret. Of course there's an establishment. And of course there's a division within the Democratic Party. There's no secret to anybody here. What are we seeing in Maine? What did you see in New York City? What are you going to see all over this country? You're going to see progressives running, protecting the needs of the working class, taking on big money interests, fighting for an agenda that works for all, not just the few.
And he referenced Alexandria. That's, of course, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who had some harsh words for the party on the night Mamdani won the race herself. And here is the representative.
Because she supported him the whole time.
He had to not just defeat a Republican. He had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on two fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that sends is that the Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future, by trying to undercut our young, by trying to undercut a next generation of diverse and upcoming Democrats that have the parties, the actual party, the actual electorate and voter support.
And despite never having endorsed Mamdani, refusing to say even who he voted for, Leader Schumer fully rejected that he is out of step with the Democratic base. And as the New York Times reported, Schumer still exudes confidence that he is an effective party leader, making unpopular decisions that these kinds of progressive figures don't have to face. He often points to the fact that he never faces any challenge to his leadership from the Senate Democratic caucus as a sign of his strength, even if this year he has seen his poll numbers in New York dip lower than they have in the past 2 decades, and that's very low. Right now, his popularity rating is underwater by 20 points, according to Real Clear polling. He was asked to respond to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's statement during his press conference yesterday. Here's what the minority leader had to say.
I'm moving forward. This morning, I talked with Mayor-elect Mamdani. We had a very, very good conversation. We said that we cared about New York City and that we look forward to working together to help the city and improve the city. I congratulated him on running a very, very good campaign. And the issue that he has stressed is being stressed by Democrats across the country, from one end of America to the other, the high costs that the Trump administration is imposing on us and their failure to do anything about it.
So, Jen, we'll get to what some of the other Democrats had to say about all of this and about Mamdani's victory and about the victories that happened around the country. There's a similarity to the tone that some of the national figures struck. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about this, the axis of what Senator Sanders, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, and Senator Schumer had to say.
Yeah. So let me start off with some of our members, and then I'll get into my commentary. Over 9,000 wrote in on TYT.com. They got burned. Ask them about establishment goals, and he will spit some fire. Part of the reason I'm reading that to you guys is because I want you to know the context. Schumer was late to the press conference, so Bernie's just sitting there, and they asked him a question about the establishment. So he's like, "You want to ask a question? I'll tell you, right?" I mean, what is he supposed to do? Hide his feelings? No, of course. And Mr. In-Between said, taps Schumer on the shoulder and says, "Bounce, bitch." Okay, now Bernie didn't do that. Okay, although that's a fun way of putting it. So look, several different things here. Schumer never endorsed, and Hakeem Jeffries endorsed like 3 minutes before the race was called. I'm exaggerating, but not by much, about last week or so after a long, long race. And the reason is obvious, their donors didn't want him to. And they're in the opposite camp of the Democratic Party. They're in the corrupt camp, and Mamdani and Bernie are in the clean camp. And
although Bernie's an independent, he's not in the
Democratic Party. Well, okay. Yeah. And so that's not surprising. Is there, like, what I liked about that clip, Michael, was that Bernie's acknowledging something obvious, which he doesn't always do. Like, there's been this unspoken war between establishments and progressives. It's spoken online all the time. On TV, though, it's almost never mentioned. Like, because in the past, what would happen is if a progressive said, "Yeah, of course there's an establishment," they say, "Oh, well, who do you think it is? Are you saying Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are in the establishment?" And then obviously the answer is yes, but then that's seen as some big affront to unity. Wait a minute. Here the Democratic leadership that never endorsed Mamdani, who was a Democratic candidate. So obviously they never meant anything about unity. Whenever they said unity, they meant compliance. I think that one is inarguable. You could argue about the two sides and who's right, but that's at this point, we have.
The reason why I agree with him wholeheartedly is because even Hakeem Jeffries did it. There was literally no Democrat that openly wanted to support Mamdani except AOC and Bernie Sanders. They have been with him probably since the beginning, especially AOC. And that's why I kind of knew he was going to take the mayoral race in New York. Once I saw her next to him, I knew it because they have the youth. And Mamdani won, but only like 1.1 or 1.2 million people voted for him. I know some of you guys are probably like, well, that's over 1 million people. Yeah, but in New York State, that's like nothing. New York has almost, I mean, it's a little bit short of 9 million people. I think it's like 8.2 million, but you consider the large number, like no one voted for him. That's why I said it was a bunch of young voters that came out and voted, and that's how he won. when the older voters started to vote, that's how Cuomo started to close the gap. But I just think they went out too late. I don't think that they went out in large enough numbers, because even though he got like 1.3 million votes, he still ended up winning.
Empirical evidence, and we've had a lot of empirical evidence. When progressives are in trouble or challenged, the establishment never helps them, never. And whenever they feel they got an inch above progressives, they're like, you must obey, unity. So it's lies, 100% lies. I'm done with that. And by the way, Schumer should be done too. Now, I mean, Pelosi's gone now, Cuomo's gone, and AOC should primary Schumer for the New York Senate race, obviously, and drive him out and easily take that seat. That's my opinion.
I don't know that she'll have to primary. I think that Schumer will eventually just step down. I don't think that it's going to be a question of primary. I don't think he wants to get into a primary. I don't think he wants to lose a primary. I think that he's going to see how this shutdown thing pans out, and then I imagine he'll have a press conference where you learn a little bit about what his plans are. So
it's the AOC situation is interesting, Michael, because she must be thinking about running for president. Because if I'm her and I want it, and I'm not going to run for president, I want that Senate seat if it's a bigger role, obviously. And all you have to do is say, I'm coming, and Schumer will retire. I agree with you.
But in New York, a downstate challenge from progressive may not play as well. And it's interesting because also Kathy Hochul is now in the conversation, the governor of New York.
I think AOC would obliterate her.
I do too, except she's an upstate New Yorker. And she's also an upstate New Yorker who came out, as she should have, for Mamdani immediately and campaigned with him. And that's not what you would have expected from Governor Hochul.
She wasn't on his side in the primary, but she didn't have to be.
You didn't have to be. In a primary, you don't have to be on anybody's side. I mean, and it was a fun.
Yeah, Kathy Hochul was another one. She's from upstate New York. I didn't mention her because she is a governor, but she's not like Schumer and AOC where they are, reps. But yeah, she's another one who came out and she supported Mamdani from the very beginning. Which honestly, they said that they were shocked that Kathy Hochul did it. I wasn't shocked that she did it. She seems pretty radical left to me.
Primary for her because she replaced Andrew Cuomo essentially when Andrew Cuomo went. So it was a funny place for the governor to be. Interesting politics, actually. I think it was really good political theater. These leaders should have endorsed the Democrat who won there. I understand why they didn't, and that doesn't mean I sympathize with why they didn't. I get why they didn't. I don't think it's as much about money as you probably do. I don't think it's about the donors. Maybe in Schumer's case, a little more than Jeffries' case, it is. But I think that it's about a national strategy that the Democratic Party has, for better or worse, whether it works or it doesn't work, of saying we are not going to get ourselves caught up in what we view as being fringe types of issues. You hear Republicans ecstatic that Mamdani won because they can tie the national party to Mamdani. So what these national figures are doing are saying, yeah, we're okay with Mamdani winning. We don't want to get involved with it because we want to be able to A, raise money on it, and B, be able to run the types of national campaigns that we want to. Whether you agree with that or not,
I get it, Michael.
That's the strategy, and I get it. So that's it.
So look, normally I'd say it's almost always 98% about the money if it's not 100. But in this case, I understand what you're saying. It's probably 80-20, right? So they don't want to get labeled with a socialist label, stuck with it, right? But number one, it just won. I get it. It's New York City. I get it more than anybody, right? Now, having said that, why are you stuck with that label? I mean, mainstream media does this absurd thing where they're like, okay, one Democrat is a socialist and one in one of the most progressive cities in the country, okay? So that means all Democrats, you have to say whether you're a socialist or not.
Every service at Pep Boys comes with Pep Check, our free car inspection. That's the Pep Boys advantage.
I want to buy your house. I can pay you cash for your house no matter what condition it's in. If you need to sell your house for...
Why? And do you do that for Republicans? When Herschel Walker would... Now, having said that, why are you stuck with that label? I mean, mainstream media does this absurd thing where they're like, okay, one Democrat is a socialist and one in one of the most progressive cities in the country, okay? So that means all Democrats, you have to say whether you're a socialist or not. Why? And do you do that for Republicans? When Herschel Walker was running and he was mentally unstable, like, okay, Herschel Walker's mentally unstable. Are all Republicans mentally unstable? Are you for mental instability? He's talking about murdering people. Are you all for murdering? Well, Randy Fein's talking about murdering 2 million people in Gaza. So are they asking every single Republican, Randy Fein is a genocidal maniac? Or does that mean you're a genocidal maniac? No. So this is a smear job by mainstream media. The way that I would fight against it, and you're not going to be surprised by this, is I'd go over the top. I wouldn't be worried about that. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, we'll all be called socialists. I'd be like, hey, you're a reporter, right? You understand that Montana's not the same as New York? You understand that not every Democrat is the same? Like, do I have to explain that to you? Really? Really? But ask any question you like, because I'm here all day.
Yeah, right? and it is about the media. It's about the questions they ask and how they tell the story. And Tallarico, who's running in Texas, said that when he first came on the air as a candidate for the Senate seat, he was going on the air and everyone was.
That guy Tallarico he's talking about, that's James Tallarico. He's out in Texas. I have had my eye on him for some time because he's very interesting. He does things like he believes in God and he preaches. He has a form of believing in God, and he preaches and he does sermons, and he challenges very interesting things. He does sermons and he preaches in churches, but then he also gets on representatives and kind of tears them apart about wanting or being okay with the 10 Commandments being in school. So James Tallarico is a very interesting figure. He's somebody who I keep my eye on. You guys should go check him out.
Saying, you're all asking me about.
He's a Democrat, by the way, too. I believe he is.
LGBTQ and trans people in sports. No one has asked me about the cost of living. No one has asked me about immigration. No one has asked me about civil rights. No one has asked me about housing. And they're all talking about that. So in fairness and in agreement with what you're saying, the media is carving this out because those are the questions they're asking and those are the connections they're drawing. So they will ask Hakeem Jeffries, would he endorse? Hey, what does it mean if the minority leader of the House of Representatives is endorsing someone who is a democratic socialist? So somebody like Jeffries will say, I don't even want to bother with that, right? I don't even want to bother with that being associated that way. You could say that it's clownish, you could say that it's cowardly, it probably is both to a degree, but it also comes with a bit of strategy, which they will live or die by,
Yeah, that kind of defensive posture drives me crazy.
Of course.
You're like, just go out and say who you are, and there's nothing wrong with it. Here, look, I'll do it. I'm a capitalist, I'm not a socialist. I like Mamdani because he was for change and he was against the status quo. Or do I think that every one of his positions is going to work? I don't know. Let's find out. I'm not in favor of rent control, for example, and he wants to further rent control, just like with the apartments that are already rent controlled, do a freeze on them. I don't think that that's going to work that well. So what? So what? The brother won the Democratic primary. He's for a change, so I'm in favor of him, right? That doesn't mean I am him. This is complicated. Is this complicated? Like sometimes I feel like with mainstream media, you have to talk slowly. And why are they trying to look at the point that Michael's making about the candidate where you said in Montana that was running or Texas?
In Texas.
Yeah, and so they're constantly asking him culture war questions. Okay, why? Because mainstream media doesn't want to focus on what Mamdani was desperately trying to focus on, affordability. Because corporate media and corporate politicians love that it's not affordable. They love it. Because that's the corporations that are getting rich off of crushing us and making things unaffordable. And it's complicated, guys. It's not, there's no conspiracy. There's no, the cable news anchors don't get together with the Chamber of Commerce. I've talked a lot about this, it's groupthink, and where does that groupthink come from? It's invisible hand of the market. I wrote about it in Justice Coming, my book. But bottom line here is you're seeing it in action as you're seeing them constantly focus on culture war issues and things that divide us, and never really asking about the issues that the New York voters just told you are the most important.
Right, and all that matters is what the New York voters had to say, right? And he won resoundingly against a familiar name in Andrew Cuomo. I don't think Curtis Lewa had anything to do with what happened the other night. And now he's the mayor of New York. And listen, there have been, and Jen and I off air talked about this the other night, there have been other mayors of New York who have challenged the establishment and been wildly unsuccessful mayors. I happen to think Mamdani is too smart to be dumb when he is mayor. David Dinkins challenged the establishment. He's a black borough president, Manhattan borough president in New York. Yes, he came up through a political machine in New York, but there were not a lot of citywide black figures who did well in that way. And of course, he was the first black mayor. And then Bill de Blasio, who came kind of out of nowhere as a very progressive candidate, who came in with an arrogance that he could do whatever he wanted and was, while charismatic, unsuccessful. So I think that there is most definitely precedent for challenging the establishment in New York. But when leadership in Washington comes from New York, it's different. You have a New York senator who runs the minority in the Senate, and you have a New York representative from Queens, and Hakeem Jeffries, who runs the minority party in the House. They should have stood up. Now, unfortunately, Mamdani needs them more than he needs, more than they need him, because if Trump is going to make it difficult on him, he's going to have to find a way to get money and support from Congress, and that's the way it's going to shake out, at least for the next year, while that leadership team is in there. So on election night, though, there were other Democrats, many national Democrats, who congratulated the two candidates who won that night in other places, and some of the others on their victories, but didn't point to Mamdani. So consistent with what we've been talking about, Pete Buttigieg, former transportation secretary and mayor, he said New Jersey and Virginia have chosen well by electing Mikey Sherrill and Spanberger for Virginia. That's Abigail Spanberger as their next governors. They're proven leaders who won by focusing on what matters most, how politics and policy can make everyday life better and more affordable. Cory Booker put out a tweet, the senator from New Jersey, saying yesterday, "We showed that the power of the people is greater than the president in power," with the images of 4 headlines attached, none mentioning New York or Mamdani. You'll see Philadelphia with New Jersey. Philadelphia had in Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices that all won. New Jersey, they're a bedroom community for some New Jersey voters. They have Mikey Sherrill there, California, and Prop 50, the Denver districting, and Abigail Spanberger. There seemed to have been room. I think you could have lost the Across Philly and New Jersey headline there and put room for Mamdani winning. Cory Booker, though, did not do that in his tweet. Debbie Dingell, a member of Congress from Michigan, was asked about Mamdani on CNN. She immediately went right to Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill. Here is Debbie Dingell, their former colleague.
Do you have concerns about Mamdani and the labels that this affords Republicans being used as a weapon against Democrats?
Okay, Republicans tried to make Nancy Pelosi the enemy in years past. I'm going to focus on the election of Abigail Spanberger, who is clearly a moderate, as is Mikey Sherrill. Both women that had strong military and national intelligence background.
So, look, that was an example of what we were talking about, right? I mean, you had the CNN anchor asking the representative from Michigan, what about the socialist who just won, right? That's how they're framing this. And that's how, it's an interesting thing to talk about after a primary. He's the Democrat who won the mayor's race in New York. It's an interesting thing to talk about when that person is a candidate. Can a socialist win? You're a socialist. Can you win in New York City? Well, he proved that he can win in New York City. So it's an irresponsible question to still be asking. I get why they're asking, but if that's the lead question, that's terribly irresponsible. And Dingell, of course, talking about her former colleagues and the Democrats, as we talked about earlier in the segment, Jack, talking about moderation. It seems to be a national plan. You're not going to agree with it. I'm not sure that I agree with it across the board, but I get the strategy. I get why they're trying it.
Yeah. So look, everyone's a little bit different place within the Democratic Party. I just keep saying, so what? So, and in terms of these Democrats that Michael just quoted, Art Garfunkel wrote about this a long time ago, called The Sound of Silence. So when it comes to Mamdani, don't say anything, don't say. There was a hilarious thing about Cory Booker, he's not backing Mamdani. They asked him about it and he says, oh, well, New York is so far. I don't like to get involved in New York politics. Philly's a little further and DC's definitely further. But yet you seem to be involved in their politics, right? So, all right, one last time. This is super simple.
Was it on his channel?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go to Shannon Sharp real quick. Because he did a tribute to a very young football player that died.
By suicide.
What's one right?
Marshall and Nealon.
Ocho, we got some very sad news.
Spreadsheets killed my sales. Wait, just try Pipedrive.
Discover Pipedrive Sales CRM.
Chevy makes America's most dependable trucks. Like the rugged...
Ocho, we got some very sad news to share. Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealon sadly died this morning after apparently taking his own life after a brief police chase and a vehicle crash, according to authorities. The news has rocked the NFL community today. The Broncos held a moment of silence before tonight's game. I believe around the league Sunday, everybody will hold a moment of silence. Leading into Monday night's game, they will hold a silence for the young man. Ocho, what was the first thoughts when you heard the news?
I mean, my first thoughts was, you know, especially where he is right now. He was in a good space. He had a good game, scored his first touchdown, you know, on special teams. And I thought there might have been an issue. Honestly, you know, listen, we family. I can share. I thought it might have been an issue at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an issue with his girl or something, and things went left. And you know, come to find out, if I'm not mistaken, he fled. He was running from the cops, or whatever it may be. So I just thought maybe it stemmed from that, and just I'm not sure what headspace he was in. But it's sad. It's sad, honestly. I wish things, you know, had been different, you know, for him, for his sake, for his family's sake, and I'm praying for obviously for the Cowboys Cowboys players, and obviously his family as well. But I mean, that's the first thing that went through my head, huh? I mean, how everything is going right for a young man, as you would assume on the outside looking in.
Yep.
And most of the time, there are certain disturbances that happen with those closest to you that kind of sway you to do things that are somewhat uncharacteristic, you know, of you, and it makes decisions that just are tough. They're tough, and because of that, whatever it may be, you know, I'm just telling you what I thought when I first heard it, but whatever did happen, I'm sure will come out. And it's sad, huh? It's sad. You had your whole career in front of you. You had your whole career.
Sometimes it gets dark. We were on our way back from LA this morning, and Jordan said, "Boss, you see this Cowboy player died?" I said, "Huh?" I said, "How old was he?" He said, 24. I said, "It's suicide." He said, "Why you say that?" I said, "Because it wasn't a car accident. Because it was a car accident, they'd have said that. Right. 24-year-olds just don't drop dead."
No.
That's before I knew anything.
Yes, sir.
24-year-old young men playing the NFL just don't drop dead. They don't. Yes, sir. I'll share a story. Not now, because this is our time to grieve him. But you don't know, boy, when people going through something.
Yeah, man.
You got to be really, really strong.
Yes.
Really, 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 really. I can't emphasize really enough.
Right.
I'll share a story about what 25 has done, what 25 and the things that I've gone through publicly and privately.
Mm-hmm.
But in this situation, it is reported that his girlfriend called police and asked for a wellness check. He has a gun, and if what's being reported, he will end it. He will end it. He will end it. She kept emphasizing that. It is also being reported that in the group chat, he said goodbye to his family. Obviously, that's not normal. Probably those closest to around him probably knew that he probably dealt with something, but probably didn't know the severity in which he was dealing with it. Mm-hmm. You know, we think we know people, Ocho. We do. We think we know people, and yes, yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Nah, and And you don't want to, you say, well, I don't want to pry, man. Man, you don't know you don't know.
Sometimes prying is good. Sometimes prying is going to save somebody's life. Because people say things like that all of the time, right? I don't want to pry. And I get it because we don't want to experience rejection. But as a Christian, I've already learned this. I've had so much practice with this. That sometimes prying is exactly what somebody needs to stay alive one more day or one more week. So, yeah, if I see somebody that looks like they're going through something, I'll pry a little bit, you know. Even if they get a little bit upset and they get a little testy, you know, and they want to be like, man, Q, mind your business. All right, bro, it's all good. Like, I can mind my business. I'm just saying, like, are you good? Yeah, like sometimes we gotta pry. Because that's the thing, we want to be so private. We want to mind our business. We don't want to experience rejection. And people are hurting. And they just want somebody to just notice them. They just want somebody to just see them. Just say something. So yeah, I would say sometimes prying is necessary. If anything, it'll save a life.
The hell that somebody has dealing in their head.
Yes, sir.
And the thing is that when you're going through something, you're like, man, I just want to be out of this pain.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go that step, think about all the pain that those that's left behind is going to have to deal with. All the unanswered questions.
Yes, sir.
Now, what did I do? Where did I go wrong? What could I have done? Did I miss the signs? Is there something I could have done? Could I have intervened sooner? What is it that I missed? Mm-hmm. Now they have to question themselves. They ask themselves tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's out of pain. Those demons got him. And I just feel bad for people that parents are not supposed to bury kids. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Other way around, yeah.
And I can just imagine, and if it's mom, his dad, those that loved him, that cared about him, I can only imagine the hell, because it's already tough when that appointment that you have
mm-hmm.
that can't be rescheduled. It's already tough. But Ocho, the man upstairs knew how this thing was going to play out. He knew. He already, the moment you're born, he already know how you're going to leave.
Yeah.
My heart breaks for his family. My heart breaks for those that cared about him, that loved him, but you don't know, man. I'm telling you, when you low,
yeah,
and you like, and you don't think there's no other way
mm-hmm.
to end this pain, to end this disappointment, to end this heartbreak. I'm telling you, Ocho. I'm telling you, man. You have to fall on your knees.
Yeah, hey, it's tough, huh? You know,
man. Hey, bro.
Hey, listen. Hold on. Hey, now we done both been there now too. Now.
Yeah, Ocho.
Hey, I'm talking about the lowest of the lows. I'm talking about sitting on top of the mountain at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, by the next day at 11, boy, I was at the bottom.
Yeah.
And
Ocho, before you go any further, Ocho, his mom passed away last year. She just passed away.
Boy, hey, that's a pain like no other. You hear me?
Ooh.
Well, when I lost Hurricane Paula, you talk about pain, and the only thing that was the only reason I got to think about the little ones.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's how I'm able to be able to compartmentalize and understand. Okay, I can grieve, I can be hurt, but then the other side of me, I still got to stay strong for them. I still got business I got to take care of. So I had to be even keel in a sense, and still listen. You know, life does continue to go on. So I'm gonna have to do this grieving as I finish this journey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no choice.
You don't. I just remember Ocho, and my grandma said it twice. She never said it in front of me, but she said something else. I remember she told the doctors came in. Sorry, Chad. The doctors came in the room, and it was just as plain as day. They said, "Well, Miss Porter, how you doing?" She said, "I'm not doing well, Doc. I'm dying." Said it just like that. She said, Miss Porter, you can't say like this. You can't say that. You can't think like that. And Libby she said, Granny, don't say that, Granny. Granny said, I know, I'm dying. That was the first time. About a month later, my cousin, Linda, was in the room. She said, hey, man, Linda's mom and Granny was sisters, Annie Mae and Granny. So she said, Aunt Mary, how you doing? She said, I ain't doing good, Linda, I'm dying. Just like that. Libby had done told me, and Granny know Libby had told me. So I come in there and I'm all sad. She said, boy, why you sad? She said, we all got to do it, son. We all got to live here. We got to leave here. We ain't come to stay. I got up and walked out the room. I can honestly say I've never been the same since. When my granny died, a part of me died with her. I won't ever be the same. I won't ever love the same. I've tried. I'm never gonna love anybody like I love that woman. Cause even when I was wrong, she said, baby, you wrong, but I love you. It broke me. And when I went back in that room, Ojo, I remember it like yesterday. I went back in that room. They was doing a story on me for the Denver Post, Mike Kliss, and I stopped and she was crying. I'm talking about uncontrollably.
Yeah.
And I stopped Mike and I went in the room and I got in my arms.
Meet your new Dell PC with Intel inside. With all-day battery life to power through your to-dos.
Comcast Business Advanced Networking and Security Solutions help.
Step into the world of Nespresso.
Today, we're testing the strength and stretch of the Columbia Rock Pads by dangling our stuntman Morgan over alligator-infested waters.
Guys, there's alligators!
I'm sure we mentioned the alligators. The rock pants held strong. The condition of Morgan's underpants, unknown. Columbia, engineered for whatever. We called in the expert.
That was amazing. You nearly got it.
And when I went back in that room, Ojo, I remember it like yesterday. I'm never gonna love anybody like I love that woman. Cause even when I was wrong, she said, baby, you wrong, but I love you. It broke me. And when I went back in that room, Ojo, I remember it like yesterday. I went back in that room. They was doing a story on me for the Denver Post, Mike Kliss, and I stopped and she was crying. I'm talking about uncontrollably.
Yeah.
And I stopped Mike and I went in the room and I got in my arms. And I said, Grady, what's wrong? And I got in my arms and she just moving back and forth, back and forth. Granny, what's wrong? I said, Granny, it's okay. I got it. She looked at me. I said, Granny, I got it. I said, I got Libby, I got Spanky, and I got Mama. It's okay. I got it. I said, you and Papa did what you're supposed to do. I said, Granny, don't worry about it anymore. I got this. If you need to go home to rest, go home and know your baby got it. Ocho, I left. That was like a Wednesday. Thursday, I called home. I called Libby. Libby said, yeah. I said, you already home? She said, yeah. Granny said she needed some rest. 30 minutes later, Libby called me back. People called, Granny was gone. She wasn't going until she was not going until her baby said it was going to be okay. Once I told Granny it was going to be okay, that I had Libby, I had Spank, and I had Mama.
Yeah.
It was like a weight was lifted off her because her whole life she had worried about everybody. Now she, okay, if I leave her, who gonna worry about them? Who gonna take care of them? Me. I don't sleep because I can't turn my mind off. I've been in survival mode since I was about 9 years old. Why I don't go on vacation? Because I can't. Because I can't stop to turn my mind off. I lay up so many nights thinking about my brother, my sister, my mom, worried about my kids. If something happens to Shannon, who's gonna take care of them? My mom's been retired 20 years. My sister ain't worked in 50 years. My brother's retired. Who is gonna, yes, I got everything, all the parameters in place, but who? That's what I worry about. That's why I work so damn hard. That's why I was in LA, did a Club Shay Shay interview, did nightcap, got up at 5:30 this morning, caught a 7 o'clock flight here, came back, took a shower, took an hour nap, and went and did another Club Shay Shay interview. And here I am doing it tonight, nightcap. That's why. Because there's nobody else. Mary and Barney Porter, that is my calling. I gotta take care of my family. That's what I gotta do, Ocho. That's what I'm here for. Man, you shot up. All I thought about was getting rained on. All I thought about, you talk about, oh, you ate that? All I thought about when I was in Denver is what I ate all the night that we didn't have anything to eat. That's what I thought about. That's what drove me, Ocho. There were many nights I was obsessed with it. It drove me. There are many nights. Like I said, I'm gonna share my story. I want to talk this about Neelan, but I know what that young man was going through. I know. Come in a minute days, Ocho. I'm in my living room and I fall on my knees. I say, I know you're the Alpha and the Omega. You're the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Father, I stretch my hand to thee, no other help I know. If you leave me, where I'm gonna go? I said, Father, I know you didn't bring me this far to leave me now. I can just imagine the hurt if he cared about his mom like I love my granny. I can imagine the hurt. Because I know the day my sister called me, that night she called me, I was never, ever the same. And I'm never going to be the same. And anybody that's in my life need to understand that I'm going to love you. I'm going to give you everything I got. But Mary Viola Porter gave me everything but life. Everything but life. What you see, the discipline, the hard work, the dedication. She used to tell me and my brother all the time, it takes all that to make a man. Man, my heart breaks for this young man's family. 24 years old. Perfect health, picture of health on the outside. But there's a volcano going on inside that we can't see. There's a saying that says we create our demons and only we can chase them away. Sometimes when you're at your weakest, that's when the old devil try to get you, Ocho.
Oh yeah.
That's when he try to get you. But if you're not careful, he'll get you when you're at your highest too, because you let your guard down.
It only took me one time.
To the Neelan family, friends, and loved ones, anybody that came in contact with this young man, I grieve with you. I pray with you. all I can offer you is thoughts and prayers, and hopefully, in this most troubled time, God brings you comfort, He brings you peace, and He brings you understanding.
Shout out to Shannon Sharp on Nightcap. Like, that was pretty dope. My wife actually reminded me that I wanted to play that tonight because I wanted to give it tribute to Marshall. I'm at 24 years old, and it's so sad it was suicide. There's a lot of suicides lately, and I mean, like, it just makes me think about Men's Mental Health Month, how it's always ignored. You know, just how men suffer in silence. And I mean, women too, of course, but, you know, men do it a lot more silently. They hide it a lot longer, in a lot more unhealthy ways. So, because that was such a great clip, it's going to lead right into the last clip of the live stream that we usually end the live stream with. We usually end the live stream with a Christian clip every night. Tonight we got Truth Be Told. Shout out to him. I watch him on the side. This is my first time bringing him to the channel for you guys. So I think you're going to enjoy him. I could have just found Pastor Anthony Mitchell's clip, but Philip Anthony Mitchell's clip. But I just wanted to have Truth Be Told. I liked his reaction to it and some of the things that he said. He also read something out of the Quran. So I was like, we're going to go and react to him looking at Pastor Anthony Mitchell. And we also get a chance to hear part of the sermon. You guys can go to his channel, 2819 Church. It is. He's the lead pastor of 2819 Church. And you guys could check the sermon out in its entirety. But we're going to look at what Truth Be Told covers. So let's take a listen. All right. So, yeah, all the demons in the chat. If there's any demons in there, you guys got to get out now because I'm telling Jesus on you. Those of you in the chat that don't know Jesus, this one's for you. So just listen carefully. And those of us that are a part of the body of Christ, we already know this time is coming. So we understand it.
Run this
back.
Have you heard about the Christian genocide in Nigeria? Have you seen what's going on in Sudan? Have you seen the mayor election in New York? Have you heard about what's going on in Minneapolis? Have you read anything about what's happening in the United Kingdom and the rest of the Western world when it comes to Islam? Well, I hope you have. And if you haven't, you need to watch this video. You need to be informed about what's happening and what's coming and how you can stand firm. I'm going to share with you right now a quick video from Philip Anthony Mitchell where he talked about something that happened not too distant past. And I want to relate it to what's happening today. I want to educate you with what the Quran says, and we're going to do this really quick. So stick with me on this video. Hit the like button. Help me get this out to more people because we need to be aware of the changing tide and what's happening across the world, especially to our Christian brothers and sisters.
Amen.
Let's check it out.
Can I show you what this looks like outside the U.S.? Give me that picture I sent to y'all. Look at this. Pay attention. Because this is coming to the U.S. Pay attention. This is 2015. Watch. These are Coptic Christians captured by radical Islamic extremists. Watch.
You remember this?
And shoved them to say, deny the Lord Jesus Christ, and we may let you go. Where are they though? We will not deny the Lord. The worst you can do you ain't gonna scare me to the point of denying my Savior. The worst you can do is take this house, but you can't touch my soul though.
Amen.
How gangsta is that? This is Christianity. This is standing for Jesus at the extreme. You think you're this gangster? And we complaining? And we can't be faithful? And we can't stand for Jesus with the little bit of trolls we gotta deal with on our page?
Right.
Ain't nobody dealing with this heat yet. But watch. Watch why I say yet. Hamas is calling for the hatred and the murder of all Jews worldwide. In my home city of New York, They had a whole protest on 42nd Street to hate Jews.
Pay
Now,
attention.
you don't care about that. But if the call to hate Jews is first, what you think is the next call coming?
He's right.
Or you think Islam is going to play nice? If the call right now is to hate Jews, what do you think is the next call that is coming in the future? Say it again. Say it louder. Hate
Christians.
all Christians. Kill them wherever they are. You don't think that's coming? Like 1999, Columbine High School.
Before he continues, okay, you got to know what's going on in New York if you've watched the news. Now, I'm not getting into politics here. This is about a religion that is political. You may not know this, and I'm here to tell you that Islam is not just a religion. It's not like Christianity. Christianity is never meant to be a political religion, what we would call a theocracy. Islam is. That's why Iran is considered a theocracy. It is not just a political party, but it's an Islamic party. Okay? When you put those two together, they rule by what's called Sharia law. And right now in New York, we have a man, Zohran Mamdani, who is very powerful. He's got a massive backing, lots of money, and AOC and Bernie Sanders are locking arms with this guy. He's very charismatic, and he's winning over thousands and thousands of people in the area where he just said they called to hate all Jews. He has already shown that if he gets into power, he is going to hold on to his radical viewpoints under the name and the banner of justice, because he has to, right? If you're actually a Muslim, you're going to follow what it says. And I'm going to share with you what the Quran says real quick here in a second. I'm going to let Philip Anthony Mitchell finish, and then I'm going to share something else with you after that also about what's going on worldwide. Let's keep going.
Dylan and his friend walks into two white dudes walk into a high school with shotguns and artillery, shooting up students and teachers. They go to one student and put a gun to her head. Denounce Jesus. Some of them looked that barrel right in the eyes and got their brains on the floor.
Man.
And what it may not, these dudes' heads was found floating in the ocean. None of them survived. But you know where they are right now?
Glory. 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 Come on. It's powerful truth. Stay with me. Listen to this. Powerful truth.
This ain't American gospel.
Yeah.
You know what this looks like for us now? Laws against Christianity. Hatred on your page for standing for Jesus. It's only gonna get worse. And my thing is, are you gonna be courageous, or are you gonna be a coward? Like, who in this room, when the heat comes to this nation, is really gonna stand for Christ? I wanna know who you're sitting under. Are they preparing you for what's coming?
Amen.
You're not gonna...
You gotta realize what he's saying, what's coming. I know we like to bury our heads in the sand. I know we like to act like it's not happening. It's already happening in Western countries right now. Not through force, but through a lot of breeding, right? Mass migration, and a lot of politicking. Okay, people running for positions and winning legally, and taking control. Wait till I tell you what's going on in Minneapolis. You probably haven't heard of it yet, but I can't believe it.
Saying Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell did not prepare us for what has come. You want to take for granted that you can gather in a room and nobody waiting for you in the parking lot? So you want to stay home on Sunday? You want to take for granted that we can come to this sacred gathering and nobody waiting for you in the parking lot? But this is what our brothers and sisters are dealing with every day outside the U.S. Let me repeat. Every single day, your brothers and sisters are facing this outside the U.S. No cotton candy here. The words of the Savior. Now, watch what he says next. Watch. Just watch. 28. Everybody watch. Please don't. Stay still. Verse 28. God. My end may not be like a glorious one. I'm not worried about it. However the Lord bring me to him, I'm going to accept that. Now, everybody watch verse 28, because I think this is coming to the United States. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy, not annihilate, but punish permanently both soul and body in hell. So listen to the words he has said carefully. He wants you to be so courageous that you're not even afraid of death. Listen to me. He wants you to be so free from appeasing people that you will speak for him even if it costs you your life. Like I've been told it may cost mine. I've been threatened by Islamic organizations. My IG was hacked by an Islamic organization during the pandemic. I get threats all the time. Ain't nobody gonna shut me up, because he says the worst they can do to you is take that outer shell. This is heat.
He's going to keep going. It's powerful. It's an encouragement that we all need to hear. But look, if this is the first time you've heard anything like this, or maybe it's been a while, let me remind you, I'm not here to spread false information or make a religion look bad. I'm just going to read you from their own scripture, what they call the Quran. Okay, I'm going to read you the Quran verses for themselves and let you make up your mind. Does this sound like a religion that turns the other cheek and loves your neighbor and shares the gospel of eternal life, or is it one that takes people and places by force through politics and violence? Watch. Quran 9:29. Fight those who do not believe until they pay the jizya and feel subdued. That's a tax. So fight them and subdue them completely with taxes and oppression, or you kill them. It's their choice, whether they pay you and are enslaved to you, or you kill them. Quran 47:4 says, whenever you meet the unbelievers in battle, strike their necks. Quran 5:51, do not take Jews and Christians as allies.
Yep.
So,
there it is.
Even when you're running for political positions, if you're holding to your Bible, to your book, which you will be held responsible for holding to that. You either follow it, or you're not a Muslim. If you're not a Muslim, you're an unbeliever, and you know what they do to unbelievers. You can't be a false Muslim, especially in this high power position. So you might take on allies to use them for positions, use their money, use their influence. But we all know what your reason for running is.
Yeah.
It's for Sharia law. Quran 9:5 says, slay the unbeliever wherever you find them. Kill them. There's other ones that talk about boiling them in water, okay, until their flesh peels off. It's horrible. Now, people say, well, that's only for the extremists. That's only for those that take it too far. No, it's not. This is literally the words of what it says. If someone took Christianity too far, if someone smacked them on the cheek, they turn the other one and offer it. If they took Christianity too far and someone stole your coat, you would take your shirt off and offer it to them. If someone made you walk 2 mile with them, Jesus would say, walk another. Yeah. If someone hits you and persecutes you, we're called to pray and bless our enemies. Even Jesus he asked God to forgive those who are nailing him to the cross. That is Christianity. If you take it to its extreme. If you want to follow Islam, kill the unbeliever. Let me correct myself. What I meant to say was, if you follow Christianity as you're supposed to, that's the way you would live. That's not extreme. That's actually how you're supposed to live. And so if you follow the Quran, how you're supposed to live,
that's what they would do.
Spread Islam everywhere until the world is taken over. And anyone that doesn't agree with you, get rid of them. Take their shell. And the current mayor candidate in New York is a Muslim. Yep. He's backed by Muslims. This is in the same place where they said hate Jews, which is coming hate Christians. This isn't a joke. Same thing's happening in Minnesota, and I'll let you know about that in a second. I'm going to let him finish, and then we'll close up. But be in prayer. I hope you're listening, my friends. This isn't to scare you, but to warn you help you to be on your guard, help you to identify the truth of Scripture about pressing into your faith. I mean, growing close to Jesus, and also not fearing anything. You really don't have anything to fear if you're in Jesus.
So now God is talking, Jesus talking about there's two types of fears, and you got to direct which way you want to go. You can either be afraid of people who the worst they could do to you is take that shell, or be afraid of me, who has the last say-so over your soul.
Amen.
So watch, he says, choose your heart. Fear men, who the worst they can do is kill you, but can't touch your soul. Or fear me, who I have the final say-so over your soul. You're going to be quiet?
It's powerful.
You're going to not talk up? You're going to not obey? You're going to not follow after me? You got more fear of men than you do me. And this ain't fear like run. This is reverence.
I can stop there. You get the idea. Don't fear man. Fear God. A man can take this outer shell, but if you really believe in Scripture, you live forever anyway. In fact, the Apostle Paul said, it's better to live it's better to die because you gain Christ. It's better to die because you gain Christ. You get out of this world. So, in Minneapolis, they're doing Muslim call for prayer 24 hours a day. So it's five times a day. They're doing the Muslim call to prayer over the loudspeaker like they would in Afghanistan or Iraq. But this is here in the United States, and it's spreading. We have city officials, congresswomen being elected into positions that hold this belief, and it's growing. Why? Because that is their belief. They are here to take over. They're here to take over the world through politics, through violence, through any way they can get in. They're here to take over. They've been saying they're going to do it. And I'm sorry, but they're doing it. United Kingdom, high positions being taken over by Muslims. And when they unite, and they are united, more than you think, what are we supposed to do? Not trust in man, trust in Jesus. And here, let me show you again what it looks like. Let me, one last thing I want to share with you, because it's been all over. I've seen this everywhere. And it's so sad to me that this is happening. Over in, let's see here. I just did a simple search. Sudan Christians, because what's going on? Sudan Christians struggle to survive under the Caesar end. God have mercy on us. Right now, there's like 4 hospitals in Sudan that were all destroyed. So many people are being killed. They're talking thousands are being killed in Sudan and Nigeria. These are our Christian brothers and sisters. American missionary, latest Westerner to be abducted in Niger capital. Christians told to renounce Jesus or starve. It's happening all over the world. And it's not going to get better. The goal is to take this country over. So, like I said, I'm not here to scare you, but I want us to hear what Jesus said. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Do you have faith in Jesus? Are you pressing into him? Or are you afraid to even mention his name? What do you think will happen when someone comes up to you and threatens your life? Are you going to deny Christ? Well, I'm here to give you the truth. Jesus said, be faithful unto death, and I'll give you the crown of life in Revelation 2:10. But he also said that if you deny me before men, I will deny you. You cannot denounce your faith, because if you have true faith in him, you know he's real. You know he loves you. You know that he gave his life for you. That's why 1 Peter 4:12 through 14 basically says, rejoice when you suffer for his name. Rejoice in it. Don't be afraid. Rejoice. I hope this is an encouragement, maybe a wake-up call, but also an encouragement for you, my friends. We need to pray for our brothers and sisters around the world. We don't have to fear who kills the body. We know who our king is. We know he's coming back. We know he's going to make it all right. We know that he's going to let go, and he's going to take over, and death is going to be no more. Sickness, disease, no more. We're going to be united fully and forever as one in Christ. He loves all of us. He's called all of us to share the gospel in truth and love. Be thankful we live here in the United States right now, but take this opportunity to share the gospel, share the good news before the days of trouble come. I'm Jeremiah James. I thank you for being here with me. If you like this content, do me a favor. Hit that like button so we reach more people. And subscribe to Truth Be Told. I'd love to have you with me along on this journey. We'll see you next time. Truth Be Told.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the Christian clip. Shout out to you guys for staying to the last clip of the live stream. I'll be praying for you guys that remained in the chat. And tomorrow we will be back for the daily live stream. So you guys make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday, so we'll be live twice tomorrow. So until then, you guys take care of yourself. You have a great rest of your weekend. Take care of yourselves. Love one another. Be peaceful, and don't forget to tell somebody about Jesus. Peace.